You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And tonight, the Warriors are in freefall mode as they lose another close game, this time against the Denver Nuggets, 119-115 at Ball Arena out there in Denver. Without Draymond Green, the Dubs have absolutely no answer for Nikola Jokic, especially in the closing minutes of this matchup. Jonathan Kuminga took a step forward tonight, but it is still becoming painfully obvious that the Warriors need to add a second scorer to play alongside Stephen Curry. Who might that be? With the loss tonight, the Dubs have now dropped 5 games in a row. It's bad times right now in Dub Nation. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. Make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Charlie Walter does a great job. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. In this one, the Warriors, early on, they were keeping pace with the Nuggets, and they were keeping Nikola Jokic under control. It wasn't so much what the Warriors were doing to keep him under control as much as it was Jokic just kind of a slow start for him in this one. I don't think the Warriors were doing anything particularly well defensively against him to start this one versus what they were doing at the end in this game. But let's just skip right to the end in this one because the Warriors just crumbled again in the fourth quarter after carrying a pretty substantial lead into the closing minutes. I mean, you had a shot, like a real shot in this one. The Warriors with like a 4 or 5 point lead as time is dwindling down, and all they need to do is trade buckets with the Nuggets at the end. It did not seem like Nikola Jokic was gonna miss, so you had to switch into the mode where Steph is just going to get everything. If the Warriors are going to be able to score on every possession somehow, some way, you had to find a way to do that at the end. And when Steph is just hounded the way he is by these defenses, the Warriors just don't have another option right now in the clutch. They go to Andrew Wiggins for one of the possessions, and Wiggs just falls down, tries to drive the lane, and you know, tries to post someone up and gets the chair pulled and just falls down right in the middle of the lane. We've seen the Warriors in these closing possessions when it is not Steph who is controlling the ball. The Warriors have looked really bad. I mean, I can think of a couple different times this season we've watched Buddy Hield just fall down and not be able to get a shot off in closing possessions. I mean, you got to find a way to be able to at least get up a shot. You cannot have empty possessions like that at the ends of games. You can't. You have to figure out a way to give yourself a chance to win. And right now, the way that the Warriors are playing in these closing minutes, they're not giving themselves a very good chance to win. I mean, it just seemed like the Nuggets at the end of this game just absolutely ran away with this one. It's because they did. The Nuggets went on an 11-0 run to close this one out, and the Warriors should have been able to get something there. I mean, if you just get a little bit from this offense, just 1 or 2 buckets, you win this game. There was also a lot to talk about as far as the officiating in those closing minutes. That foul on Kevon Looney when he's literally flying backwards, like he's jumping backwards and giving ground the entire time, does not bring his arms down on top of the defender. I don't know how you call that foul. I don't know how that, especially given the context of the game, given the fact that that was Kevon Looney's 6th foul. And after that, it was just, I mean, it felt like at that point the Warriors had absolutely no shot. With Kevon Looney on, being fouled out and Draymond Green inactive tonight, I mean, what are they supposed to do against Nikola Jokic? I mean, asking TJD to go out there and body him up in those closing minutes would have been a huge ask. And the Nuggets are pretty good at scheming up just offensive confusion, the way the Warriors do with all their passing game to get opposing defenses off balance and get switches that are effective for you. The Nuggets were able to end up with Steph Curry on Nikola Jokic there at the end, and you saw Steph couldn't even find the ball. Jokic drains the jumper over him. I mean, it's just unfair at certain points watching Nikola Jokic play. This guy just looks like he processes the game at another level. I mean, he looks like he is moving so slowly, but is so in control and just sees everything on the floor. The passing ability of Nikola Jokic is off the charts. And I thought the Warriors did a pretty good job of limiting him in the first half, in the sense of they did not allow him to hurt them as much as a distributor. He was more of a scorer purely in the first half, and really got involved in distributing the ball more so in the second half. Nikola Jokic ended up with 6 assists in the second half, or by the end of this game. So, I mean, his assist numbers were not that high in the first half. He had 38 points, 10 rebounds. So this guy was just all over the place for the Nuggets. 14 of 24 shooting, so very efficient night for him as well. 40 minutes of play. The Warriors did a really good job in the non-Jokic minutes tonight, but ultimately they just had zero answers for big number 15. And without Draymond Green, this was a big ask for this unit to be able to corral him defensively. Whatever he wanted tonight, he was getting threes. He was 3 of 4 from the three-point line. He was getting to the free throw line. He was 7 of 9 from the charity stripe. And the Nuggets as a whole sank 28 free throws. The Warriors only made 15. Warriors shoot 71% again from the line. This has been a problem all season long. And while that's slightly better than their season average, I mean, you have to figure out a way to get better at free throw shooting. This is just, unbelievably bad. I have not seen a Steph Curry Warriors team shoot this poorly from the free throw line before. This needs to be remedied in some way. You cannot expect yourself to be a playoff team when you are one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the league. That's just not how that works. And speaking of free throws, man, this game started to get out of hand from the Warriors in that third quarter because of these damn free throws. The Warriors got into foul trouble quickly in that third quarter. A bunch of ticky-tack fouls. I mean, it started with Kuminga giving like a little soft body bump, like way far away from the hoop. And it felt like they got 3 or 4 fouls very quickly early on in that third quarter. And they were all just fouls that didn't need to happen. Fouls that weren't on shots, fouls that weren't on guys driving to the lane. They were just fouls away from the basket. I mean, the ball's like 35 feet away from the hoop, and we're fouling the ball handler. I don't understand why the Warriors were being so sloppy with these fouls in the third quarter. And I will say they were a little ticky-tacky. I mean, it has been a lot of this season in the NBA has really been the ref show, and we don't need that in basketball today. I mean, we saw it with Kevon Looney at the end of this one, but also in that third quarter, way too many ticky-tacky fouls called on the Warriors. And it just, I mean, if you're the Warriors, you have to know that the game's kind of being called that way, and you got to secede ground. You can't give the Nuggets that many opportunities from the free throw line. They had 17 free throw attempts in that third quarter, just way, way, way too many. And ultimately they had 35 for the game. It's really hard to beat a team when you're giving them 35 free attempts from the charity stripe at 28 free points. It's too much. It's too much. Meanwhile, the Warriors doing their best job to just give the Nuggets even more free points, because in the paint, not just in the paint, but at the rim in the first half, the Warriors were absolutely atrocious. They were 7 of 13 on shots at the rim in the first half. I'm not talking about points in the paint. I'm talking about shots at the rim, layups, dunks. That needs to be a lot higher than 50%. That needs to be a lot better than 7 of 13. Ultimately, in that first half, they were just 11 of 22 from shots in the paint. That's not good enough. You cannot do that against a team like the Nuggets. And the Nuggets, for being as tough as they are on the interior offensively, with Jokic and Aaron Gordon, they aren't the toughest paint defensive team or team. They don't play the best paint defense. What I'm trying to say here, they are not gonna stifle you on the interior. Jokic is gonna give up some points down there. And the Warriors, they were able to get into the lane. They were able to get to the rim. They just weren't able to finish. And we have seen this time and time again from this Warriors team this year, smoking layups all day long, all season long. Andrew Wiggins, a culprit again tonight, and just not executing, not finishing plays. I mean, you do all the tough work to get the open shot at the rim. You got to pay it off. You got to finish your shot, finish the drive, make that shot go down. And if the Warriors even make just a couple of those, if they shoot just marginally better on those shots right at the rim, they win this game tonight. And so one positive, I guess, from tonight's game, even though you have lost 5 games in a row now, if you're the Warriors, is this loss didn't feel as bad as the other ones, I would say. This one, it felt like ultimately it was just Jokic beat you. It wasn't anything that the Warriors really did to beat themselves too much in that fourth quarter. I mean, the 11-0 run to end the game is a tough way to lose it. But credit the Nuggets for, I mean, I say the Nuggets, credit Jokic for really putting the Nuggets on his back and just taking them to victory tonight at the end in the fourth quarter in this one. And I mean, you try to have Steph do that too, but sometimes it's just too much to ask for Steph Curry. Curry tonight, 8 for 23, 4-15 from three-point land, 24 points for him. The Warriors as a whole, only 31.6% from three-point range. The three-point shot just has not been there these last couple days and during this losing stretch, which really makes getting those points at the rim that much more important. You can't shoot, 50% on shots in the paint, less than 50% on shots at the rim and expect to win a game. I mean, it got better in the second half. The Warriors making more shots at the rim in the second half, a lot more than what they were doing in the first half. But again, you could have had such a bigger lead going into this third quarter than they did. I mean, the Warriors played pretty well tonight overall as a whole. But I mean, to end the first half the way they did, where then they kind of let the Nuggets start to creep back in there, and then in that third quarter for them to get all those fouls that they did, keep getting to the charity stripe and pull away, the Warriors needed those extra points in that first half from those layups if they wanted to close this one out. And this is kind of a thing for the Warriors now, these fourth quarter collapses. I mean, again, the Warriors have a double-digit lead about midway through the fourth quarter, and this falls apart again for the Warriors. So now poses the question, how do they stop it? Because it seems like this is, it wasn't just when it happened once or twice, it was kind of an outlier. Now this seems to be happening with some frequency. Now this seems to be what the Warriors are just turning into identity-wise. It seems like their defense gets a little tired late in games. Teams start to figure them out, and superstars, specifically really big bodies that can play on the interior. The Warriors don't have a ton of answers for those types of guys, and it can really change games for other teams down the stretch tonight. Nikola Jokic takes over. I mean, we saw Kevin Durant do it with the Suns in the Warriors last time out. Kevin Durant, I mean, obviously not a traditional big, but a very, 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 tall, lanky guy that's going to give the Warriors a lot of problems because they just don't have the height to defend these types of guys. And the guys who do have the height aren't playing with the tenacity right now. Wiggins, after the great start to the season that he had, has fallen off in recent weeks. And tonight, again, Andrew Wiggins, a -20. The worst plus minus for any Warrior tonight was Andrew Wiggins. I mean, he had 13 points on 3 of 7 shooting. He's just not taking that same level of assertiveness, taking the ball to the rim the way he was earlier this season. And it's affecting the Warriors. They need that second scorer. Where is that scoring going to come from in the fourth quarter when Steph doesn't have it? And Steph has not really been Steph. I mean, he still had 24 points tonight, but he's not been the same guy, the same level of human torchness that we've seen from him in the past, especially in these fourth quarters. So what do the Warriors do? I think they need to go out a second scorer. Let's talk about that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 10 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch those winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Think Steph Curry will get more than 4 3-pointers next week? Anthony Edwards for more than 27 points? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's show is also sponsored by Game Time. I love live events, from concerts to sporting events and everything in between, and I rely on Game Time to get my tickets. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks. Makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I also love the all-in pricing feature. Toggling this feature on shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Game Time also gives customers the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Receipt of copy does not constitute an order. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors didn't have enough gas in the tank to get over the finish line. 119-115 loss to the Denver Nuggets, and this is now the Warriors' fifth consecutive loss, all of them in eerily similar fashion with these fourth quarter collapses. The Warriors crumbling in clutch time. How can they avoid this? And in this one, and as is in these other games, the offense just comes to a screeching halt in that fourth quarter. And Steph isn't being able to just single-handedly win games for you anymore in the clutch. And it's a lot to ask from a guy who's, this old, this long into his career. You can't just continuously rely on one guy to get you there every night, even if it is Stephen Wardell Curry. I mean, he's 36 years old. He's done this forever for the Warriors, but he's had help in the past. And there's a reason why Steph was so effective in the clutch. It's because in past years, you couldn't just have guys, running, teams sending 2-3 defenders at him each possession down the court. And right now, nobody is letting Steph get an open shot. Every single team is saying somebody else on this Warriors team, come beat us besides Stephen Curry. Let's not let him run off these screens. Let's deny him the ball and force somebody else to make a bucket. And the Warriors are showing the entire NBA that in these clutch minutes, nobody can make a bucket on this team besides Stephen Curry. They need to go out and get another scorer. And this has been something that has been talked about a lot with this Warriors team since the offseason when Klay Thompson departed. Who is going to be the solid number two in and out every night that can, that Steph can lean on in these moments? And it's not Jonathan Kuminga. As much as I liked what I saw from Jonathan Kuminga tonight, I did think that he took another step forward offensively. I really liked what I saw from him. We'll get to that a little bit later on in the show. But I think that you got to find a way to get another scorer alongside Steph. And it's probably going to take getting rid of a Jonathan Kuminga, getting rid of someone like a Brandon Pajemski, who I don't think that they should really go get rid of a Pods. I would much rather see them move a Kuminga. Maybe they need to move Andrew Wiggins there, but you're going to have to give something to get something. And the Warriors are probably going to have to move off from one of these wings. And I think Jonathan Kuminga still gets you the best return. He's also right now the second best scorer on this Warriors team. I don't think that you really have another option consistently. I mean, some people will say Buddy Hield, but you look at what we got from Buddy tonight. I mean, a turnover and only 6 points on 2 of 8 shooting. That is not number two scorer in the NBA. That's just not going to cut it. Moses Moody, some nights he can be that guy. Maybe with more run, he would turn into that guy with more consistent play. There's a large portion of the fan base that clamors for that every single night that Moses Moody has a good night. And lo and behold, Moses Moody had a pretty good night tonight. 13 points off the bench in only 20 minutes. He was pretty good out there. He played some good defense as well in spot moments. I think Moody this season as a whole has really earned himself some more playing time. But ultimately, I think the Warriors need to go get a guy like Cam Thomas. Not like Cam Thomas. The Warriors need to go get Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets. And that, I think he is gettable. I do not think the Brooklyn Nets are going to, ride this guy. I don't think they're just going to hold on to him until he just leaves in free agency. So he's a gettable guy. This season, averaging a career high in points per game, 24.7 points per game, and averaging a career high from the three-point line as well, shooting almost 39% from beyond the arc. And I think that is the exact kind of guy that the Warriors need. You need to replace the three-point shooting that was lost in the offseason. And while Klay was not himself in his last couple months with the Warriors, taking shots that were very un-Klay-like, dribbling way too much, but you still got to find a way to replace that scoring. He's, Captain Clay didn't earn the name Captain Clay by doing nothing out here in Dub Nation for all those years. So you got to figure out a way to replicate those things that won you championships in the past, adding another lethal shooter to this Warriors backcourt. I mean, I think you need Cam Thomas. He is the guy to go and get. I mean, there's other available guys out there. Zach LaVine is probably gettable. I don't think that's a guy that the Warriors should go and get. I think that his style of play doesn't necessarily fit in with what the Warriors want to do, but I think Cam Thomas could fit in really well over here. A guy who loves to let it fly from three, and he's been also pretty solid from just the field in general. He's shooting a career high 46% from the field, so it's not just the three-point shot that Cam Thomas is adding this year. It is the entire body of work, and I think that is what this Warriors team needs. If you can add another legitimate, bona fide scorer to this offense, you add another guy in these clutch minutes that avoids these big collapses, because you can't guard both Steph and another lethal shooter at the same time on the court together. You don't have those like OKC where they went 8 minutes without scoring a bucket in that in those last minutes of that game, in those final 8 minutes. You don't end up going 11-0 in against the Nuggets. The Nuggets don't rip off an 11-0 run in the final minutes of this game if you have another scorer out there alongside Stephen Curry. But right now, the Warriors don't have another guy on this roster who can go get a shot when they need it. And when I'm sitting here watching the Nuggets, I'm looking at Aaron Gordon thinking, yeah, that guy can go get a bucket whenever he needs. So can Nikola Jokic. So can Jamal Murray. Got a lot of guys over there on the Denver Nuggets who they need to go iso ball in certain moments, and they need to go away from Nikola Jokic, their superstar. They have the ability to do that. That's why the Denver Nuggets are a championship contender, and why right now the Warriors are starting to slip out of that contender echelon, that upper echelon, that contender tier of the NBA. I just don't see it right now. Earlier this year with DeAnthony Melton was a little bit different with the 12-man rotation. Everything seemed to be working smoothly, but now with the injury, you lose that key second ball handler to go with that second unit, and I think that's been hurting the Warriors a lot as well. I think that's a big reason why the momentum just stops in certain moments, and it's hurting the Warriors right now, and it's really hard to just kick that thing back into gear just by putting Steph back in and saying, go splash in some threes, because those threes haven't been there lately. We got to find them somehow. I think the solution is Cam Thomas from the Brooklyn Nets. I want the Warriors to go get Cam Thomas. Give up what you got to give up. As long as it's not Steph, I wouldn't want to move off of Brandon Podziemski. You can have pretty much anyone else on this roster at this point. You can have pretty much anybody else to get that deal done if you bring Cam Thomas here. I think he's a guy who would also love to stay with the Warriors with the way that they play. I think he fits in very well into the system, and he's a young guy. I mean, he's only 23 years old, so I think that would be a great addition. We talked about Jonathan Kuminga a little bit and how he would have to be the guy that the Warriors give up in this trade package. But what if the Warriors aren't able to make a move and they're stuck with what they got? You got to hope that Jonathan Kuminga keeps taking steps forward, and he took one forward tonight. And I think that we got to talk about it, because if this guy stays on this team, you need to see more from him. You need to see more of what we saw tonight from Jonathan Kuminga. We'll explain that next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? For some, wrapping up in a blanket with a mug of hot chocolate or watching a movie with family is the best way to spend the month of December. Therapy is a great way to bring yourself some comfort too that never goes away, even when the season changes. Therapy is a great tool for learning how to comfort ourselves and be there for ourselves when others can't be. Life can be stressful, and we all need a little help sometimes. Nobody can figure it out all on their own. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. tonight, the Warriors fall 119-115 out there in the Mile High City, falling to the Denver Nuggets. And Nikola Jokic, and Jokic was just so much to handle at the end. With Draymond Green in this game, I think things might have been a little bit different in this one. I think Draymond accounts, for a 4-point difference. I mean, the Warriors record with Draymond is very, very good. The Warriors record without him is below 500 in this, Steph Curry, Draymond Green era. So obviously missing Draymond was a big deal tonight, especially when you go up against someone like Nikola Jokic. But the Warriors still had a shot to pull this one out, and they couldn't do it at the end, mainly because they just couldn't get a bucket on the offensive end of the floor at the end of this game. And one thing that concerns me, and I've said this before on basically every show, is that the Warriors only have one guy on this roster who can go get a bucket when it's needed most. And Jonathan Kuminga could turn into that second guy. Andrew Wiggins, we have hoped and prayed for the entirety of this guy's career that he would eventually turn into that guy, the former #1 overall pick out of Kansas. He's 29 years old, and he just still has not turned into that guy. So I don't think he ever will be. And Jonathan Kuminga, I think, has a better chance of becoming that guy, but also still isn't really that guy right now for the Warriors. 9 of 18 from the field for Kuminga tonight. More efficient, a much better game. We saw him play against the Suns. 19 points on 18 shots is not the most efficient game in the world, but it is a lot better than what we saw in his last time out. Only took 2 threes. I like that because he hasn't been making that 3-ball lately. But the 2 things I like from Jonathan Kuminga I saw tonight: his willingness to pass the basketball and his willingness to take and make those mid-range jumpers and those floaters. That Kuminga doesn't need to become a lights-out 3-point shooter for this guy to become a super effective scorer and take that next step. He needs to be able to make those tweener shots, those mid-range, like DeMar DeRozan type shots, those when guys are gapping him from 10, 12 feet away from the basket. He needs to be able to knock down that jumper in some faces, rise up over some fools, and hit that shot. He needs to be able to learn on when he's driving the rim, when he needs to float that ball up. And he made a nice little bank floater shot off the left side of the bucket in this first half. He had some nice little mid-range push shots and fadeaway jumpers all in that first half that I really, really, really liked seeing from Kuminga. When he has those things going, you have to play up against him, and he can just blow by you with that speed, elevate in a nanosecond with that amazing athleticism that he has, and he can be a force on the interior in the paint and getting, not layups at the rim, because the Warriors have been missing a lot of those, but dunks at the rim, which is what the Warriors need. And he showed some of that tonight. He also showed the ability to pass out of a good shot for a better shot. And we saw Kuminga with a few opportunities tonight to shoot open threes, and instead of hitting that shot or chucking it up, we saw him eat up that space in front of him and look to pass the ball. And when he did that, we saw Steph Curry hitting 3-pointers. That was amazing, amazing, amazing ball movement from Jonathan Kuminga early on in this one. He only had 2 assists in this one, but the one that I'm thinking of was a perfect cross-court pass to Steph Curry after Steph passed out of an open shot to give Kuminga a chance on the wing, and Steph relocated, and Kuminga ate up the space in front of him, and then found Steph after he relocated for that 3 that went in. And you saw Steph immediately point to Kuminga. You could see Steve Kerr on the sideline ecstatic about the play, and just the vision, the ability of Kuminga to kind of slow it down a little bit and read what's in front of him rather than just execute, go get the right play, rather than just deciding what he's going to do before the ball's even in his hands and just run in with a full head of steam, trying to break down a brick wall, even if it's, the entire defense right in front of him. Kuminga, when he's able to play within this offense and utilize that athleticism within the Warriors offense, can take this team to another level. He really can, but he's got to show that he can do this consistently. He's got to show that he can make those layups at the rim consistently. He's got to show that he can knock down these mid-range jumpers consistently. But tonight, a step forward for Kuminga. I really liked the court vision, the passing that he displayed in the first half. He needs to continue to do that throughout the entirety of the game. And when Steph's not out there, you can go look to run through that brick wall and make some more plays. But when you have the best shooter of all time out there and you have that floor space the way it is, got to learn to play within the offense. And in the Warriors, they've got to find a way to start scoring points in the fourth quarter, especially in closing minutes. Teams are just not letting them get the ball. Teams are not letting them get shots up. Wiggins, passive, fumbles the ball in the closing minutes tonight, just straight up falls down. We've seen Buddy Hield do that a few times. Who is the closer for the Warriors if Steph is not working? Right now, they don't have an answer. Closest thing they got is Jonathan Kuminga. I think the best solution for the Warriors at this point is to pivot, go make a trade, go get Cam Thomas, go get more scoring on this Warriors team. Take some of the pressure off of Steph and allow him to kind of just be free again. Allow him to be able to not have to fight through 2 defenders on every single possession, or sometimes 3 if you're playing against the Clippers and Ty Lue. It's just been a hell of a season for Steph in these clutch moments. I'm not blaming Steph. These defenses have adapted, and there's nobody else on this Warriors team right now that scares you in these final moments. It's 5 losses in a row for the Golden State Warriors. Good news is they'll with the 3-1 record in NBA Cup group play, they'll now go to the quarterfinals. They're going to hit the road though. They'll travel to Houston to face the Rockets. That's their next NBA Cup game in the knockout stage. So we'll see how they fare. The Warriors 3-1 in NBA Cup play. Exciting. It's something that I think is great for the league. Gets more people interested in basketball early on in the season, something the NBA has needed for a long time. So we'll obviously be coming to you live with those post-game, post-cast wrap and all of that, as we always do against the Rockets. That is on Thursday at 7 p.m. At the Rockets. So Warriors lose this one 119-115 to the Denver Nuggets. Just too much Nikola Jokic at the end. Not enough defense for the Warriors, not enough scoring for the Warriors. No answer for Nikola Jokic in the post, especially after Kevon Looney fouled out. And then the shooting just going ice cold in the fourth quarter, something we've seen before from this Warriors team. They got to go add someone to go alongside Steph Curry and be able to take some of this pressure off in the closing minutes. That guy, to me, is Cam Thomas. It's all the time we got for you guys today on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time as the Warriors take on the Rockets in the knockout stage of NBA Cup play. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.